everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of Final Score Overtime. Week 4 in playoffs now, guys. We have 3 teams remaining in the Basin looking to, knock on wood, take us to Arlington.
Yes, we do. And, you know, a nice little week, Thanksgiving weekend set of games this past week. And, yeah, half the team's moving on.
Yep.
Y'all's breaks go well?
Yeah,
I just wanted to break the ice. We're thankful for having y'all tune in every week.
Here.
Yeah, you know.
Thanks for coming back. You could have just stayed.
Yeah, I could have just stayed in Nebraska. It was too cold up
I
there.
debated.
I had to come home.
Okay. And Aaron, you had a good time in Tyler?
I did.
Really?
I
Great.
was back here to cover some of these exciting playoff games, though. So
Yes.
excited to talk about it.
Well, let's get right into it then. The first game that we will be talking about will be Greenwood, and they will be playing, I'm sorry, I forget who they are playing.
They are
Iowa
playing
They're
Iowa
Iowa
Park. Now, before we get to this Iowa Park game, I think we do have to look back on the win over Estacado. Absolutely dominating in the second half over the Matadors.
Yeah, Ben, I'm a little disappointed. You hyped up this Estacado team so much.
They are
Undefeated.
good.
He was
Listen.
like, they're going to face their first real test of the season.
Not first real test. Their best test. No doubt. I will say their best test. Estacado, I will just say, and this is not a knock on Greenwood because obviously they came out on top, but in terms of just who they played and how they did against those teams, I think they definitely had the tougher
schedule.
They have the resume.
Yeah.
as they say in
They
college
beat
football.
Wichita Falls 45-3. Wichita Falls was in the they just got knocked out in 5A, I believe 5A Division 1. They beat Coronado 36-30. They beat a lot of really good 5A teams, and then they rolled through their district similar to how Greenwood did, had a very good postseason run. But man, oh man, especially that second, I thought that game was huge for Greenwood to not leave any doubt.
I believe it was a 1-touchdown game at half, correct?
Yeah, 21-14 at the half, and then just rolled through. Now, I will say Estacado, since I've been here, I know they kind of have a little bit of a, if there's any knock against them, it's from a historical standpoint. If they get in some games in the playoffs, they can kind of let things snowball a little bit, which it sounds like it maybe did a little bit. But I think all the credit in the world to Greenwood for that win. That was huge.
I think a lot of people questioned Greenwood because of their strength of schedule earlier in the season. They've made it so far, but who have they faced?
It's
So I
tough
think
out here in West Texas to
Yeah.
find that good competition,
Yeah.
and that was a really good,
Yeah.
ground for them to stand on and say, hey, we just whipped a really good team
Yeah.
from Lubbock. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think that goes to what I'd been saying, we might not find out how good Greenwood is until they play some of these teams, because just how, maybe it's hard to get a gauge just how good they are based on who they've beaten. It's also tough to get a gauge of how good they actually are because they don't face an Estacado often, and then when they do this. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah,
This Iowa Park team, they're no slacks.
I was going to say, Aaron, they were the last, in fact, the only 11-man team that made it into the third round of the playoffs last year, Greenwood. And they played Iowa Park last year in Lubbock. What stood out to you most about that game? I'm not sure exactly Iowa Park, who they have coming back and all that.
I wasn't at that game.
You weren't? I thought you were. I could have sworn.
Anyway, Greenwood did lose to Iowa Park last year, so they get a little bit of a revenge game here. So I'm sure they take that to heart, because a lot of the players who are seniors this season for Greenwood were big-time players for Greenwood's team last year.
Yes.
So
I think too, this will be exciting for them to get a chance. The whole year has been just taking that next step this year, and I think just the symbolism for them of being able to go through the team that ended their season last year is going to be huge for them, especially going into, if they get past Iowa Park, they likely play Pleasant Grove. A lot of people think the best team in the state for the classification. So, I think this game is going to be in Abilene, by the way. I don't know. I feel really optimistic about the Rangers in this game.
Yeah, Iowa Park's only got one loss this year, and that came against Brock. And Brock is 11-2 right now. They're still in the playoffs, so they're a really good teams. At least there's someone who's really good that they have lost to. I'm really interested to see if Greenwood can bring it back-to-back weeks. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure they poured a lot into this game against Lubbock. It's another West Texas team. They're, undefeated, big matchup. and they came out of that rolling. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum going, because it's tough to play that tough week in, week out, and this is the part in the playoffs where you have to be able to do it. So I'm excited for this game.
And our other producer, Jared, pointed out there's one common opponent between these teams. They both played Sweetwater. They both played them kind of earlier in the year when Sweetwater was a little rougher. Iowa Park beat them 46-0, I think, and Greenwood won 56-28. So, but that was week 3 and 5.
Yeah.
So
Very
for what
different
that's
team,
worth.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this will be. I think Greenwood's going to rise to the challenge here. I really do. I think, like I said, just them having the chance to right the wrongs from last year, and then, oh man, if they can, buckle up, because that's going to be a heck of a state semifinal matchup. If we'll see.
God willing.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys know how much I like this Greenwood team. I've seen them twice this year. Both times have been very convincing wins. I see very little weaknesses in this team, but having said that, we keep criticizing their strength of schedule going in.
And it's not even criticized. I mean, they do what they can as far as.
I understand, but just the fact that they have not played adequate competition.
It's more for me. It's more like a wild card. It's like shake the magic 8 ball.
It's hard to get a good read.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about the Wink Wildcats, you guys. They kind of tripped out of the gates to start. Weren't really
1-3 to open the season.
I didn't want to say for sure. I think so,
It
but
was
they've run
1-3.
9 straight wins.
Yeah.
Is it?
9 straight wins and tripped up out of the gate against Vega in their last game, falling behind 21-0, and then coming back to win it 28-21. I was listening to the radio in the fourth quarter, the radio stream in Florida, so that's how dedicated I am. But no, that was, and I think too, I'm not totally positive on this, but I think they came back, scored 14 points in the third quarter, I want to say, and then made it 21-14. And then when they made the touchdown to go 21-20, I think they went for 2 and didn't get it. So they were still trailing and then got the touchdown and the 2-point conversion and the stop. Cannot say enough about that win for Wink and the character they showed in that game against Vega up in Levelland. Now this week, taking on Stratford in Lubbock at AT&T Jones Stadium. Jones AT&T Stadium.
Can you tell us anything about the Stratford team?
Very good.
They're number
12-1, killed
They're
McCamey
ranked
in round
number
1.
3 right now.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of people have Stratford as the odds-on favorite to come out of this region for this classification. So Wink's going to be in for it. Although I think Wink is also another team, probably more so than Greenwood, because obviously Greenwood's been doing phenomenal, but they kind of are, I think, even still a little under the radar because of the start they got off to. And
well, they were under the radar for me. When I saw that they opened 1-3, I was like, oh yeah, Wink. Okay, yeah, they're not going to be great this year, and they're one of the last 3 teams from the Basin standing, which is really awesome. I'm glad that they turned that around. So yeah. And their girls volleyball team, they played well this year.
They
too,
did.
right?
They did.
And their cross country team.
Oh, and their cross
I was
country
going to
team.
say, talked to Coach Gibson yesterday. This is the first time Wink's made it this far since he said the mid-90s. They're not sure.
Wow.
94, 95.
Yeah,
I guess the record books aren't that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a while. So this community is stoked.
It's
for
been a
this
good fall
program.
for the Wildcats.
It has.
Yeah.
And talking about Stratford once again. So they beat Vega, the team that Wink squeaked out. They beat them 40-19 on the road. And then there's this team, Groover, who all you need to know about them, they got this kid, Jalen Conyers, I believe. He's like a legit D1, Power 5 conference recruit in, 2A Division II. You don't see that very often.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Groover 47-12 in the regular season. I believe the Conyers kid was hurt at some point. I don't know exactly his health status. They just beat them 25-6 in this past round. So Stratford, they're going to come in, and they're going to be a real tough challenge for Wink. But
where's this game?
I think it's going to be in Lubbock at the Texas Tech Stadium. I think Wink.
Really?
Oh yeah,
That's exciting.
Friday Night Lights.
I didn't know that.
You thought we were done with football in Lubbock at Jones AT&T, but not quite yet.
Quite. Nope.
No, but I think Wink too. They kind of. I get the sense, and Aaron, I don't know if you have any insight on this. They feel like a team that has nothing to lose at that point, which can be a very dangerous team because they are still, if I remember right, they're still a very young team.
Yeah.
Or they got a lot of young contributors at the very least. And And I think, especially after kind of having survived last week, you go into this and, you know,
play with your hair on fire.
Stratford is who it is, but I don't think they're scared of anybody. So we'll see. I don't know. It'll be exciting. I'm so excited for this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to do the Hermione, go back in time and watch all these games in person, start to finish. But
Use her little necklace.
not going to be possible. Yeah, no, I want it.
Big statistic. Stratford is only giving up 10 points per game right now. So Wink cannot fall into a hole. If they fall into a hole, this is not the defense they saw last week. This is a number 1 ranked defense.
And I think from when I've seen them play, they are a little more comfortable when they can. Like, they have Nicholas Gray, he's a good quarterback, and so if they have to try to come back with him, they can. But I think they're more comfortable if they're able to mostly run the ball and sprinkle in the pass, as opposed to
have to throw from
have
behind.
to throw the whole time. Not that they can't. They still kind of operate out of the spread even when they run, but I get that sense. So we'll see how it plays out. But now we get to talk about another team that I'm super excited about.
Of course, Rankin coming in, the Red Devils, the only team that you guys sent me to that I had to cover a Basin team losing. But now, of course, they made it this far.
Yes.
In
Yeah, that's
playoffs.
crazy. They're one loss, too.
Yeah.
In which they revenged in the playoffs to Sterling City.
Yeah.
Well, we believe them.
74-66. Probably the craziest football game that
Was
I've
it-
ever seen in my whole
Did we
entire
send
life.
you to a basketball game? No, we sent you to a basketball on grass game. Oh, man, no, yeah. Rankin, I saw the highlights from their game against Borden County, and, I just was following the game. I saw them kind of take off there in the second half, and I believe, did they mercy rule Borden
They
County?
did. Yeah,
They did.
It was a 76 or 78-32.
78-32, yeah. I mean, man, Borden, they've taken care of everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was back and forth in the first half, but that's how 6-man games go, you know?
Yeah.
Typically, eventually someone's going to get away in the second half.
I will say, too, the thing we said, if anything, for this team the whole year was their offense it might be the best offense 6-man in the Basin. No question. It's just really when they go up against other good offenses, how well can they play defense?
And McLean's no joke.
And McLean is no joke. The same team that Garden City was their last team in the playoffs for any school, and they made it to the state semifinals in this round, lost to McLean, go on to win the state championship, McLean does. They still got the running back, Ben Crockett back. The kid's a beast. And so I'll have to see what McLean's done to this point coming in. But, I mean, just the scoring for Rankin is ridiculous here.
I think McLean's only loss is Balmorhea. If I remember
Balmorhea
correctly.
is their only loss.
And that was with the number 1 versus number 2 game.
Rankin defeated.
Yeah. The state championship for this division runs through West Texas. Balmorhea,
sure.
Borden County, Rankin, McLean. I mean, It is this region. I really believe that. And, McLean, according to Max Preps, they're the new number 1 team in the country in 6- and 8-man football teams. So it just keeps rotating between these teams out here. I'm really excited that Rankin's made it this far. And if they win this, they're on to Arlington.
Oh, yeah.
correct?
And Rankin,
Yeah.
number 2
Yeah.
statewide.
semifinal.
So
They've been in Game of the Century a couple times this year. Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned you call it basketball on grass. The thing that I take away most, of course it's a high-scoring game, but watching one player dominate the game so much, you don't see that in 11-man football. And Rankin's got a ball star in Deshaun Goodley, who's
they do. They do.
who's I mean, for real though, both sides of the ball, and I think he kicks for them as well. So I guess you could say all
we
three
were
phases
saying
of the game.
you'd have to see, but I wouldn't doubt he would be on the field for a lot of these 6A
Many
teams.
of them, if not all of them.
Yeah, so I mean, the points scored for Rankin over the years, each game, 54, 70, 54, 61, 60, 66, that was the loss, 68, 62, 54, 68, 86, 76, 78. The thing that I think Rankin, if you compare it to the Garden City game last year, Garden City was very good, but they were kind of a complete, very good offense, very good defense. And to be fair, they probably didn't run up the score as much because they weren't giving up as much, and they'd 45 teams earlier, so that probably made their offense look, I guess,
you
less
can't score 60 when they got 0.
Yeah, exactly. But you got stuff to do in the half. But the thing I like about Rankin this year compared to Garden City last year is, I mean, any given possession, I think you got to think it's an 85% chance Rankin goes down and gets a touchdown, as opposed to Garden City against McLean, like, still a pretty good chance, but like, I think they kind of had a similar style enough to where it kind of matched up better to how McLean could play, because they're two kind of physical teams. They kind of run the ball to set up the pass. Garden City and Rankin, they can run the ball, but they throw it all over the yard, which I think is going to be an adjustment for McLean. So I don't know. Let's go. That's going to be Saturday at Friendship, by the way.
How badly did Balmorhea beat McLean when they played during the regular season?
They
Back for that 1-2
won that
matchup.
game. Let me see.
That
Balmorhea
neutral site.
won the game 48-35. They got off to a big lead, I think a huge lead at the half, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
McLean made a furious comeback. They had some turnovers in the first half, McLean did. Balmorhea, though, they held on. And, yeah, I mean, I think McLean has gotten a lot better since that game. It seems to be, but they've kind of exclusively played Panhandle teams. So,
And so, though, even only allowing 48 points, you can see that the defense is still there, even though they only scored 35.
I think they're gonna. They
might
might be. I'd have to look at who Rankin, but like Rankin's played Balmorhea very good defense. They played a lot of good defenses, Borden County, and I think about McLean. We'll have to see. I think they could be probably the toughest defense they've played this far. So
Yeah, this could be the story of that game is who scored,
and
who has the ball last, maybe.
I do think this is the de facto state championship game.
Sure.
If I had to say so, I think the winner of this game wins the state championship. So Rankin fans, if they win this and they lose, don't get mad at me. But no, I think this game is huge.
And that game's this Saturday,
Yep.
6 o'clock.
And we'll have the highlights.
Have highlights right here on Big 2. So.
Of course.
Yes.
So before we stop talking about high school football, Ben and Aaron, can you guys, again, remind our viewers and talk a little bit about the reclassification that just occurred yesterday?
Yeah, because I have no idea what this means.
Yes, okay, so
They look at enrollment.
All I know is Wink is still playing 11-minute football.
Yeah.
I ran.
I stopped.
Yeah, I ran.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I ran.
yeah,
Excuse me, Wink. You're in the
every
playoffs. You're
2
doing
years.
fantastic.
Yeah, every 2 years.
They take a look at size and population. Not population.
Kinda, yeah.
Student population.
That would be nice if they like
Sorry, some of these schools are bigger than my hometown, so they look at population.
Yeah. I feel bad for the school that has like a lot of retirees living in it, and then they have to play up like, hey, like none of our population's like in high school.
They're not even going to the game.
Yeah, but for those that don't know, every 2 years they
Enrollment.
They recycle. They
There you
do
go.
not only the districts, but they obviously take into account enrollment to place schools into the new classification. So we'll find out what the districts are going to be in February, but earlier this week we found out which classification each team is going to be in. And the movers we have here in the Basin, Fort Stockton moving up to 4A Division I. Interestingly enough, they did not have to do that. They could have stayed 4A Division II, but I mean, they won. I still haven't been able to see if they won the most games out of any 11-man team that missed the playoffs, but they got to be up there. So I think that's probably moved to try to maybe get a more favorable district to make it a little easier to make it into the playoffs.
So do you think, real quick, that means that they'll be probably in the same district as Andrews and Seminole and
From what I
those
was
folks?
reading, or from the speculation I was reading, it was suggesting that they would be more likely to be in a district with some El Paso schools or some Far West schools. I don't know.
Fort Stockton's what, southwest of here?
It's
correct?
pretty, yeah, I mean, it's pretty
it's
like.
it's on I-10.
Hop on 10, yeah, it's about an hour.
It's in that direction, so.
still
Depends
probably
who's driving.
closer to Seminole and Andrews than it is to El
Yeah.
Paso.
I mean, Andrews is north of here, though.
It's 2 hours. It's probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
Fort Stockton to Andrews.
Okay.
And Fort
I drive-
Stockton to El
I drive-
Paso
I
is probably
know.
like 3.5,
You drive
maybe
way more than I
3.
do.
Aaron, like I said, it depends on who's driving.
But El Paso's so far away.
Well,
And it doesn't matter.
And
If it's
Seminole,
Jake
though,
Wheel,
they
it's a
are.
45-minute drive.
We're not going to know anyway until February.
Seminole is moving down to 4A Division II.
Oh,
So
well, heck, they can just swap.
they'll
There we
be in
go,
there
yeah.
with
Here
Monaghan,
you go, UIL. We have your
Greenwood.
solution.
Yeah, I think Snyder, I believe they stayed in there, but they'll be all down there. Lamesa is moving down to 3A Division I from the 4A Division II. I think
Dang.
Lamesa because they and Ira Ann were the only schools that moved down classifications altogether. A lot of other schools moved divisions, but stayed like 2A, 3A, 4A. But they just moved divisions. This one, they actually go from 4A Division II to 3A Division I. So I'm kind of interested to see how that helps just their programs in general, because they're a team that, especially basketball, they have been very competitive over the years. So, well, that obviously should be helpful. And they had a tough year this year on the football field. And then Buena Vista moving up to 1A Division I. And then Iran, we'll get to them. But 3 teams moving down to 1A Division II. Sands, they've had a tough go of it lately. They're going to be moving down to Division II. Klondike is a team that has a huge junior class. They're a very good team. They're in that district with Borden County. Bless their hearts. But now they're moving down to Division II, and talking to Coach DeGraffenfield at the beginning of the year, I know he was really excited about the potential they have next year, not only with this huge senior class coming back, soon to be senior class, but also with this potential move down. So I think Klondike's going to be an interesting team, but of course, we got to talk about Balmorhea going back to Division II. One of the best teams in Division I.
Yeah.
And obviously had a great season this year, going back to the division where they made back-to-back state title appearances, just 2016, 2017.
Yep.
So that they'll be right in there with Grand Falls Royalty. So that should be fun. And then Ira Ann, from my understanding, they're moving down to 1A for all their sports, so that should be helpful for all their other sports. They're going to continue playing 11-man football though. Again, my understanding from earlier in the year is that they have a big, I don't know which grade it is, but they have a big class in junior high. And I had read some articles about them talking about how they didn't want to jump down to 6-man for like a 2-year hiatus if they knew next realignment, not this one, but the next realignment cycle, they were just going to have to go back up to 11-man. They didn't want to have
It's
to.
easier to just stay at 11.
Yeah, and to have those kids that are really going
to
to be the core of this program for the foreseeable future, to have them just stay in the same system, maybe take some lumps here, but, ease the adjustment for when they go back up to they have to play 11-man in 2 years from now. I don't know if those kids are getting there. I'm guessing they're not getting there next year because then their enrollment would be up.
How does that work so they jump down to 1A, so that they don't play any 1A schools then for football? They couldn't because there's only 6-man teams, right?
Yeah, so 1A is exclusively 6-man, but so for football only they will have to be, I believe,
2A Division
2A Division 2.
Okay.
But they'll be 1A for all their other sports.
Okay, that makes
So-
more sense.
So what are they right now?
2A Division 2.
So they'll be in this.
And I believe they could have been 1A Division 2. That's how small they would be this upcoming realignment. But again, from what I'm hearing, they have a big junior high class.
So technically, this reclassification isn't going to affect their football.
Not football, but there are other sports that will. I think
All I know is that there's no 10-man football, because if there was, they would sign up for that after the games that they had this year. That'll wrap up our high school football chat, you guys. Coming up, we'll be talking about some college football, as well as who the desk has getting that 4th seed in the college football playoff. Don't go away.
When you got a big job, you need a reliable work truck. From flatbeds, roustabouts, and crane bodies, it's all here at Stanley Ford Andrews. Our fleet sales crew can get you in the right truck for the right job. No one has more in stock than Stanley Ford and Andrews.
Welcome back to Final Score Overtime time. Now to talk about some college football. We'll dive right into it, you guys. Big 12 championship game, Baylor, Oklahoma. Maybe not the matchup we anticipated at the beginning of the year. Oklahoma for sure, Baylor maybe not so much. What do you guys
happened
think?
to Texas?
Well, I was just telling y'all, I still can't process the fact that
Baylor's
Baylor only has
11-1?
one loss.
Yeah.
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 It's still
And
like
their one loss is the team that they are playing again. One of the biggest sayings in football is it's very hard to beat a team twice.
I still think OU's going to win. That's my
How do we think
put
the
my
whole
little graphic, Aaron, OU.
OU.
How do we think the Baylor collapse against Oklahoma is going to? Does that help Baylor in this game get revenge? Is it just like a bad memory that you
I think you have to block it out entirely.
I mean, you do, but like, do we
can't
think
focus on it.
that whole experience is going to be a net positive or minus for either team?
But I
think
feel
it
like
was
Baylor's done that several times, you know?
No, they have. They
Kind
just
of
held on every other
sabotage-
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've
No,
just
I know.
sabotaged
And they held on
themselves.
against
Yeah.
Tech to
Yeah.
your point.
I can't believe they're 11.
I kind of think Oklahoma will come into this game being like, okay, this is a team we whooped in the second half the last time we played them, and now we get to do it again, but
Let's do that in the first
we
half.
get to reset the score.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's going to come in invigorated, especially with so much on the line in this one.
So, Ben, OU, is that your graphic too?
For the Final Four?
No, for this game.
For this
Oh,
game.
for this game,
You
yes.
know,
Oh,
have
yeah.
little pick'ems across
OU.
the bottom.
OU. I'm taking OU.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake?
I will pick OU as well. I think it's going to come down to coaching, and it's
We're
going to
so
come down
non-argumentative
to
today.
quarterback play. I know it's
Okay, everyone's
December.
picking
There's
OU.
a
I have
Christmas
to
tree in the
pick
background.
Baylor
Who's
now.
gonna argue?
So yeah, okay.
You're wearing green.
I'm wearing
so-
the green.
there you
Go
go.
Baylor, I guess.
That's
Not
that little
happy
thing.
about it.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah,
I
they're
think
Sick 'em.
Sick 'em.
I know Coach Rule has gotten a ton of love and praise this year. Like, I'm not sure if they've already named the coaches of the years for each conference,
I
but
don't
he's
think
It should be
so.
after the conference.
Yeah, I think after the conference.
I mean, he's definitely in the
Oh,
consideration.
he's got to be.
He's got.
I still, I don't think he's got really that much of a good matchup against Lincoln Riley, just in terms of scheming plays and all that stuff. Of course, they have not only
athletes.
them on film, they got playing each other on film, so they know strengths and weaknesses now. And of course, we talk about second half comeback. Usually, they say second half adjustments. That's all about coaching to begin with.
Was CeeDee Lamb out of that game against Baylor?
He was.
Okay, yeah, that's a big.
and
So
he's-
you're Oklahoma.
I mean, Oklahoma's going to win, but I'm going to pick Baylor so that
No.
because you can't have all four pick because then Baylor's going to win and then we all look dumb.
And then we
so
look silly.
Yeah.
I got to be the
Just
voice
to
of reason.
save the
The
brain.
descent. Okay, let's dive into our next conversation now, you guys. So I guess most of us have Oklahoma winning. Would that mean that Oklahoma would gain that fourth spot?
I want them to
Hypothetically
win.
saying, you know, with this hypothetical, does Georgia win? With this hypothetical, does LSU stay if they lose? Let's
My-
assume Clemson's in.
I think-
I don't even
Clemson's,
wanna
they're going to
assume-
beat UVA. Yeah,
I was going to
Yeah.
say
I mean,
Clemson's
can we
in
even
unless they
assume
lose to
Ohio
UVA,
State?
which is not going to happen.
it should not happen.
And I think Ohio State
That's-
and LSU, if they lose, now if they both lose, that might be tough. But if just one of them loses, I think they're in.
I don't think so with Ohio State. I think
I think they're in. I think Ohio State lose.
and LSU are the two best teams in the country.
I think people know that,
And
which is why if they lose, they're in.
I can't see a situation where you lose conference championship week and they put you in. Like I would almost argue putting Wisconsin in if they beat Ohio State. And
Really?
Wisconsin has 2 losses. I don't know.
So they would jump the Pac-12 champion.
It all depends
Well, I
on
guess
how
they
this
would
shakes
jump
out.
Utah, they're
'Cause
already above
either
Thank God
Georgia or
we're not on the
LSU
playoff
has to
committee.
lose on top of this as well. And so, I honestly, all I'm cheering for, I want LSU and Ohio State to win big and just go in. I want to see those guys play.
I was
'cause those
gonna
are the
say-
two best
Okay,
teams
so
in the
if those
country.
two teams win, then who you got?
So
Then
Georgia would be
those
knocked
teams
out.
win. Clemson,
Who would get their spot?
and then it's between Utah and Oklahoma,
literally
and
between
it
Utah and
depends
Oklahoma.
on who's more convincing. If Oklahoma comes in and absolutely
whoops.
blows out Baylor,
Yeah.
you have to put them in. If Utah comes in and squeaks one out against a 10-2 Oregon team, I don't know how you put them in over an OU team that just whipped another team. Like,
With
it
higher
really
ranked team
depends
as well.
on spreads. It really depends on who wins by how
What
much.
margin?
I'm gonna dissent here. I think if I don't now to be fair to me, and I like to do that.
You like to be fair to
If
yourself.
Oregon,
To me.
I think Oregon has a good chance, and I might even pick Oregon
I
to win
picked
that
Oregon.
game.
I picked Oregon.
With that,
I have Utah.
So, Oregon.
Just saying.
With that said, if Utah wins, I think they're in regardless. In that scenario of
Yeah.
LSU, Ohio State, Clemson.
Even if Oklahoma wins
Even if
big?
Oklahoma blows them out, because Oklahoma has
No.
had so many games where they've just squeaked by this year. And I know
Yeah.
the one with Baylor, they didn't have CeeDee Lamb, but they've had so many games where they've barely, like the Iowa State game, they almost lost. They low key.
Man, but I just feel like you got to look at like Big 12 competition compared to Pac-12
Well,
competition.
the Pac-12 wasn't bad this year, though. USC jumping up
still.
into the top 25 rankings really, really helps the case for all of those teams. Because I think Utah's only loss
Their only
is
loss is a
USC.
3-point loss
And
to
US
SC at
finally
SC.
hopped into those
Back
rankings.
when they
so-
actually, I think they might have had their first string quarterback before they went all the way
they
down to the
didn't.
fourth.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had already lost at least one at this
USC's
point.
just been a disaster all year. I
Yes.
don't know how they've won 8 games, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's
Utah
tough.
has won one-score game in 2 months. They've blown out everyone.
I was gonna say they've taken care of.
And that was against Washington, who's also a very formidable opponent.
I think if they beat Oregon, this is why I think regardless, I think that's going to be their best win of the season for them. So I don't.
You don't agree, Aaron? What?
No, because I just think in general, the whole Big 12 in general, even the lackluster teams, like it's just better competition to play because you never know who's going to play well that week in
Yeah,
Big 12.
I mean I don't disagree with that.
I mean, yeah, but who's atrociously bad in the Pac-12?
I mean, Stanford is
just
last
think
in the
it-
North. Are you going to tell me Stanford's atrocious?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Y'all,
There's-
I still think I'm just going to pick Oklahoma over
That's
Oregon.
fine. Yeah.
or over Utah. I mean,
I'm all in on the Pac-12 this year. I really didn't think after Oregon
I think
lost,
UCLA is
I was
probably
like,
the only
oh, well,
like borderline
that's it.
atrocious team. But even they're respectable-ish.
Washington and Washington State being weak does not help the Pac-12 case.
No.
Pac-12's case though. Washington what did
had
they
a
go
bad year.
7-5?
Yeah.
Like, and oh man, people had them top 10 at the beginning of the year. Like, I don't know.
Utes.
It is a very interesting. I'm glad I don't sit on the committee.
Yeah.
Because I don't
I
know.
think we should be
I
the
don't know what you
committee.
do. Yeah, like. Ugh.
I think we should be the committee.
Yes.
I'm
They're
gonna-
going to send it down
The Big
to
Two committee.
Odessa, Texas, and we make
You-
all the decisions.
And they're gonna be like, "Why do you think?" I'm gonna be like, "Because I said that."
Utes, if you win, you're in, but it ain't gonna happen. Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon.
My logo.
I have Oregon in that game. I have Oregon.
I like Oregon in that
Money
game.
line.
I think a lot of us would argue that there might be need to expand the playoffs to 8 games. But if we look at it, 6 of these 8 teams in the top 8 play each other this week. This is how you get in.
Yeah, and I really, looking at the top 8 this week, I don't know if you can make the argument for 8 teams because there's a lot of 2-loss teams in that. Like, yes, it makes sense in a season when you have 4 undefeated teams and 3 1-loss teams. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense to have an 8-team playoff. Right now, it doesn't make sense to me because there's obvious tiers. Like, I mean, Ohio State, LSU, and Clemson are obviously the 3 best teams in the country. There's a reason we're discussing who's number 4 because there's no clear-cut 4th team. How do you make a clear-cut 8 team?
Unless, if we had the scenario where Ohio State and LSU both lost, I don't think it'll happen.
And Clemson and
Well, I think even if you say Clemson wins, then okay, you have a situation where you probably have, let's say, Utah. Well, either
Georgia would obviously have to stay in if they
Georgia would have to stay in. You'd have Clemson in, and then besides that, you'd have like a 2-loss Wisconsin team. You'd have probably a 1-loss, either 1-loss Baylor or Oklahoma team, and then you do the 2-loss Big Ten champs. Wisconsin, do you do the 2-loss Pac-12 champs? Oregon, do you keep the 1-loss LSU or Ohio State, or do you keep both of them in? And so
I don't know.
make it 8. Give the group of 5 team a spot. There you go,
God.
Jake.
Yeah.
There's my
Who's
shout out
the
for your
group of
problem.
5
fell
team?
off.
Boise
Off in
State.
Yeah, I
November.
think it's.
I
Right
have
now it'd be
Hawaii
Memphis.
in that game.
It is Memphis right now, although
It's
they play
Memphis.
Cincinnati, so
Yeah.
it looks like it's going
That's
to be the winner of Memphis-Cincinnati.
That's a weird game too because they played each other literally same
Yes.
Last
field,
week.
same teams last week. That's wild to me. I don't know. I don't like teams hosting conference championship games.
No, we were talking about that. I thought that was
it's
going to
just
wild
weird.
about it.
And you'd think in the American they'd be able to find some place where they could play I mean, there's so much going on down there. Played in
was
Orlando.
gonna
Yeah, I mean, there's
suggest
only
Memphis,
I think there's only one team in each state. Like, you can't find one neutral site state or stadium in any state.
I mean,
It's
tough
kind of a
'cause
weird
you can't put it in
conference
Atlanta or whatever.
geographically.
Yeah,
Oh, it makes
yeah, the
sense.
geography of that is super
Play
weird
it
too.
play it at the Titan Stadium in Nashville. How about
There
that?
we go. Yep, perfect.
Go out to Nashville.
It's
The
not like
Ponies
there's
would've
real
loved that.
football that is played in there
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So, shots at the Titans.
But shout out to our guy Ryan.
That's our
I do.
NFL.
You have to include
I
it.
knew it was
He's actually
coming.
been playing.
He's actually been playing really
He's been
well.
balling.
Yeah.
And they've been balling.
Oh man.
In the AFC South, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
Guys, we are getting on a tangent. It has gone way too far this time. We're going to wrap up this edition
Let's
of
do
Final
it.
Score Overtime. Again, we have
3 teams.
three teams that will be facing off. And is it from Thursday to Saturday?
Friday.
Is it Friday? to
Friday.
It's on
Saturday?
Friday.
2 on Friday.
Yes,
Greenwood
please let
Wing
them know
on
when.
Friday.
So-
Greenwood Wing Friday. Rankin
Yep.
Saturday.
Yep.
And of course, you can catch all of these highlights on Big Two coming
Yes.
up this weekend. We
Yep.
will have full-blown analysis and all of that coming up for you for these 3 high school games, as well as, of course, follow all of what we think on our college games as well. I'm sure
We'll be
make
able
sure
to
we
fight
all
a
of that.
lot
Yeah.
more next week
Conference
after these
champion-
You
conference
can find me tweeting
championships.
on Saturday.
Yes, you can find all of us tweeting on Saturday.
Yes.
For sure. Well, I think that'll wrap it up. Ben Peck, Aaron Reynolds, Jake Meyer. I am Jake Eichstead. Thank you all for tuning in. And, of course, watch these high school football games this weekend. Support your guys.